Welcome to the Global News Podcast on YouTube, where we go behind the headlines to find out more about a story and why it matters. Syrians are marking the first anniversary of the end of Bashar al-Assad's brutal 24-year rule. It signified one of the largest political shifts in the Middle East in decades and brought more than 13 years of civil war to a close. But how is the country faring 12 months on? To tell us more, we're joined by our correspondent Lina Sinjab, who's in Aleppo. Lina, we'll come to the celebrations in a moment, but first of all, just remind us, what was life like in Syria under the Assads?
Well, Alex, probably you can see where I am now, the mood, the celebration. Thousands of people are pouring into the street to celebrate this day after a heavy weight lifted off their chest. After 50 years of dictatorship, 50 years of fear under the rule of Bashar al-Assad and his father, Hafiz al-Assad, these were the years of darkness in Syria, where people disappeared, where people have been killed, tortured to death, simply because they're speaking their mind or being in the wrong place at the wrong time, or simply because somebody reported them. A huge injustice on Syrians that they've lived through under the two Assads, and now it's their moment to celebrate that they are now free, that they are fearless, and that they can speak their mind and have a say in how their country is going to run.
Yeah, you were one of the first BBC journalists into Damascus after Bashar al-Assad was overthrown. What are your memories? What did you see on that day?
Well, it was like a night that is unforgettable. I didn't sleep at all. It was, we were watching what's happening in Homs, and then the regime fell in Homs, and in the early hours of the morning, me and my colleagues were getting ready to get to the border. The minute we started rolling in the car, we heard that Assad has fled. That was around 5 a.m. In the morning, Damascus time. We arrived at the Lebanese border and waited impatiently for the border crossing to open so that we rushed into Damascus. It's a moment that I would never forget. It was the first time ever in my life I entered Syria without fear, especially after years of being blocked and being under the arrest list. I went, I crossed in, there were no border police, checkpoints were abandoned, these same checkpoints where people disappeared from. And I remember clearly that day when I was, reporting, I said it was the first time ever in my life I report without fear, and I feel these jubilant moments that every Syrian have shared that day.
Yeah, I can see behind you people holding up posters with protest slogans on. That kind of behaviour would have been unthinkable in the Assad years, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, and if you can see around me, they are trying to show up behind the cameras. They're holding their flags. They're surrounding me everywhere. We're actually near Saadallah al-Jabari's main square in Aleppo. And during Assad's time, it's unheard of that you would hold a camera or a mic and be in the streets. There would be plenty of security surrounding you. There will be someone listening to what you're saying. And you have to go on the streets with a minder from the government to monitor where you go, what you see, who you talk to. And the new government is finding its way to lead Syria. Of course, they still lack the experience, but they have the goodwill for a better country. We have seen freedom of expression in the country that we hope it's going to continue the same. And really, there's no comparison between what Syria is living today and how it was under Assad.
Yes, you mentioned the new government, the government of President Ahmed al-Sharaa. It's been working to gain acceptance on the international stage. How has that been going?
If you look back for a whole year for somebody who had a bounty of $10,000 on him, who was on the terrorism list, and now he almost visited many main capitals around the world. He was the first Syrian president ever to visit DC. He was the first president since 1967 to speak at the UN Security Council. He managed to lift sanctions on Syria. He's done a lot for the country. But People inside fear that he was mainly focused on gaining the international acceptance, gaining the support of the international community, but little has been done internally. And to be fair, I mean, this is not something that he would be able to control, because Syria is in dire need for money to reconstruct. The World Bank estimates that the country needs over $200 billion to rebuild its economy and do the reconstruction after the damage that Assad has left. And that money hasn't arrived yet. But President or interim President Ahmed al-Sharaa has done a great job in building bridges regionally and internationally, and got Syria back to the world.
What's the number one challenge that Syria faces today?
I think the economy is the number one challenge, but also the management and how this government is going to lead. Because so far many criticize that this new leadership is depending with its appointment in the government on loyalty and nepotism rather than professional candidacy and autocrat. And that's what the country needs. It needs the professional Syrians, not the ones who accompanied al-Sharaa during his trip to power. They need the professionals. They need the experienced Syrians to lead, and not the appointed now men behind the scenes who rule the country at the moment. They are the sheikhs. So the clergymen, or just the men with beards that accompanied al-Sharaa, and now they are in many leading positions, and that's, I think, a big challenge. And the second challenge is how he's going to provide a Syria for all, a Syria that protects all people, all Syrians, of minorities and majority Syrians as well, rather than just being a Syria for the Sunnis, like many pro-Sharaa portrays it today.
Thanks, Lina. And you can hear more of that interview on the Global News Podcast. Subscribe wherever you get your BBC News podcasts. You can also subscribe to us here on YouTube. And if you'd like us to cover a story, do message us in the comments below.